So
Yes.
Nathan, I see that behind you there is an impressive collection of videos and DVDs and whatever.
Yes. That's my vice. I don't drink,
Okay.
I don't smoke, I collect movies. So
Collect movie.
yes, and dude, I've been a fan of yours as long as I can remember. Born in the mid 70s, grew up through the 80s. So
Uh-huh.
your movies were the talk of the school bus, I'll tell you. And that was like, if somebody had seen Revenge of the Ninja and I hadn't, or you'd hear the stories of how great this movie was and how exciting it was, and I couldn't wait to see it. Of course, all these were R-rated at the time, so
Of course, of
we
course.
all got to see them.
Revenge of the Ninja, a Golan Globus production from the Cannon Group.
Maybe we didn't know it at the time, but it was targeting male audience. We didn't know that teenagers will get into it so strongly.
Right. Yeah.
But it was it was targeted to the same audience that will watch Chuck Norris, let's say.
Sure.
So this was more or less the direction, but it resonated strongly with teenager. We learned later.
Well, that's the interesting part, is like you were kind of creating that genre at the time, the subgenre, so to speak. Chuck Norris had done the Octagon, and of course Menachem Golan did Enter the Ninja.
Right.
And who knew what these movies would become and where that fan base would manifest.
Correct.
So it is quite interesting.
Very correct.
Yeah.
When we made, I'm sure you have a question you want to ask me, but I'll tell you already that when we made those movies, at the time, low budget independent films, I will tell you, we couldn't imagine, myself or the entire group who were involved in making those movies, we did not imagine that they will be so popular. We did not. We thought, another movie for the video store. That's basically was the thinking, the feeling. Okay, we all went to the video store to rent movies, and here we're making another one that will be on the shelf, another movie to be on the shelf. We could not imagine that what will happen with the Ninja, which will end up with the Ninja Turtles, of course, which was
takes it a whole nother route.
It led to the Ninja Turtles.
Sure. It absolutely did. And then, of course, there was toy merchandise for American Ninja, an R-rated movie, which I don't have any of that. I wish I did. I always,
I did. I was not, for the same reason, for exactly the same reason, because we thought that we are making expendable movies. There's movies that will disappear quickly. I did not collect any memorabilia from the movies or anything. The only thing I own is the mask, the silver mask from Revenge of the Ninja.
Oh, wow.
For some reason, I took it. I had two. One I gave to a museum, to Martial Art Museum, and I have the second one here at home. And basically, that's it. We did not collect. I didn't know. But lately, from Vietnam, an artist, a doll artist sent me those two from Vietnam.
Oh,
he's a figurine artist. He makes them.
I saw you posted these on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, they look pretty good, and he's sending me from Ninja 3 the Domination.
Oh, Lucinda Dickey?
No, he did the Sho Kosugi with the
iPad, yeah.
And the evil ninja,
okay. The possessive ninja. Yes. That's awesome. That is all. I mean, dude, had to be a whirlwind for you, just picture after picture. Like you did them back to back. You didn't have any room to breathe really in between those. 83 and then 84. Yeah, 2 movies in that year, and then American Ninja the following year. I mean, wow.
Correct. So you see, Nathan, when I got into this movie business, I went to school, film school. In 72, I started.
Okay.
I went to film school in 72, and I wanted to get into this movie business. I didn't know much, and I started to learn and understand, and I was working, and I was an assistant director, and and then I understood that what I want to be is a director, the one who tells the story, the one who tells the story. I mean, the writer and the director. The director controls more of the final product. And in my wildest dream, he did not imagine that I will end up doing action movies, or especially martial art movies.
Yeah.
I went to graduate school 79, which led to the 80s. And the first movie I directed was like a social drama.
I've got
Redemption, One More Chance, Redemption, Prisoner, Kabuto, Prison, correct. One More Chance.
Kirstie Alley's
from
very
a Cannon film, the first one of the first early movies that they distributed.
Yeah.
And then I was presented with a chance to do Revenge of the Ninja, which was a sequel to Enter the Ninja. Up to this point, I have not seen I have not seen a Hong Kong martial art movie in my life up to this point, before that.
So nothing Bruce Lee, nothing?
Nothing. You remember the Kung Fu movies, what you used to call karate movies, Kung Fu movies? I never. My only exposure to this martial arts, let's say Japanese, were samurai movies. Okay. Samurai movies, Japanese. I loved Japanese samurai movies. But I've never seen a Kung Fu movie. And then I was presented this chance to direct a ninja movie. I saw Enter the Ninja, of course, because it was within the company, within Cannon. But I was always fascinated by action movies as a kid, as a viewer, mainly Westerns. As a kid, I saw the way we grew up in the 50s, the late 50s and the early 60s, Western was the big thing.
Sure.
Or adventures movie or Tarzan movies. This was my childhood, this kind of movies.
Johnny Weissmuller, yeah.
So I liked action, this kind of action adventure. And then came James Bond, of course, when I was teenager, James Bond came.
Oh, yeah.
The ultimate action movies. And also war movies, World War II movies at the time. So at best, I thought maybe I will direct action movies like James Bond, this type of action movies. But it ended up with a martial art. And you're right, because of the first one, the first movie that I directed, Revenge of the Ninja, was successful. It was picked up for distribution by MGM.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the first movie that Cannon was a young, relatively young company that making.
It was reborn when
Reborn. It was an old New York company, right?
Yeah,
it was an old company in New York. But even then, they never had a distribution by a major. Not the original Cannon and not the new Cannon. And suddenly, MGM picks up Revenge of the Ninja for distribution. This was a big deal for the company. And it was a relatively modest success, or relatively for a low budget, it was a big success for 800 prints. It was at the top of the box office in New York. So obviously they wanted a sequel immediately. This is Hollywood. They want to make money. It's a company. Sure. They need to make money. So immediately they approached me, let's make another one. So it turns out that as a director, let's say, I did have the talent or the knowledge how to approach action. And action is action. Either it is a martial art and sub-genre ninja within martial art, but yet it's action. And Revenge of the Ninja is full of so-called regular action, chases, cars, guns. Not everything is martial art. It's pure martial art.
I think you could take the martial arts out of it, and it's just an effective action movie. It's an action with dramatic elements. I mean, it has the dramatic background. Yeah,
correct. So that's probably the reason why I started to answer your question. I started to work one movie after the other is because they were successful within the world. I mean, it's not a major studio, it's not Star Wars, but within the world of independent companies, it was a success. Sure. And so they hired me. They kept giving me another movie to direct, another movie, and so on.
Ninja 3, The Domination.
obviously Sho Kosugi was brilliant in those films, and I think that Cannon dropped the ball with him. You know, he could have been Chuck Norris, he could have been Charles Bronson,
Correct.
but they, after Ninja 3, they just didn't. Yeah, didn't.
Correct. I don't know exactly the relationship. I mean, I know hindsight. I know more stories today than I knew then.
Sure.
But the relationship between Sho Kosugi and the company and the head of the company, Menachem Golan, this was the key to answer your question. He was discovered when Cannon Film decided to do the movie Enter the Ninja. It was inspired by Mike Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Stone, which was a champion, karate champion,
Sure.
he came to Cannon with the idea, let's make a ninja movie. Who ever heard about ninja in the Western world before that? Nobody. In Japan, in the Japanese culture, in Japanese movies, Japanese television show, yes, but not here and in the Western movie making world. So Mike Stone came to Cannon, he presented the idea, they liked the idea, Menachem Golan liked the idea. They went to the Philippines, they made a movie with Franco Nero the lead, and Mike Stone brought in Sho Kosugi to play the villain.
Enter the Ninja from Cannon.
Was Mike supposed to be the lead?
Yes.
And then
yes.
Franco replaced him.
Correct. As far as I understand, when they went there, the idea was that Mike Stone will play the lead, Sho Kosugi will play the villain. But whatever happened over there in the Philippines, Menachem Golan decided he met Franco Nero in the Philippines. He was there in the film festival. The story is that he met him in an elevator.
Starring Franco Nero.
So it was more of a name to sell a movie, I guess, or whatever.
Sure.
He was replaced. But Mike Stone stayed on as the choreographer.
Okay.
Now, they were impressed very much by Sho Kosugi. And then they decided to make a sequel, Revenge of the Ninja, and Sho Kosugi will be the star. All of this without me, behind my back, before I was even involved. So when they asked me, when they commissioned me, let's say, or hired me to direct, the script was already there, but by Jim Silk, and Sho Kosugi was already attached. The script was almost finished, was almost done. And I was presented to Sho Kosugi. We met, each other. Then we realized two things. Sho Kosugi has an ambition to make American movie. He does not want to make a Hong Kong movie. And he realized, I don't know anything about ninjas. Nothing whatsoever. So he was my mentor or my educator on the subject. He recommended few books. So there is a place here in Los Angeles, Little Tokyo. We went there. We bought few books. He started to explain me about the different weapons, and he is the one who introduced me to the Hong Kong martial art movies. Okay. And he started to show me. The funny thing was that those movies were Chinese with no translation. The way he showed them to me. But this was okay because my goal was to understand the action, to understand what do they do, what is this martial art thing. And obviously he was the handshow. He was the big guy with those movies, yeah?
Yeah.
Because of his knowledge, because he was had a dojo with students and they were around him all the time. He was always surrounded by 6 or 7 students. So he was the authority when it came to martial art. But on the other hand, either he realized or he agreed to the fact that I will direct it. I will put the elements together. So either he sensed that I know what I'm doing, putting his choreographies into cinematic matters. And this was our relationship during the filming. He was the big boss when it came to martial art, choreographing the fights, suggesting, helping me. And I became the authority on the cinematic level, which is the director anyway, the job of the director making a movie. making sure that all the elements will sum up to a exciting storytelling on a big screen. So this was the relationship. It was a kind of relationship of respect. I must admit, I did not understand. Sho is Japanese, and he came here, and with the purpose was to make movies and to become a movie star. That's how he came to Hollywood, to Los Angeles. I did not understand probably all the nuances of Japanese culture. You know, how do we behave, or the etiquette of martial art. Who is the boss? Who is the student? I didn't understand. I don't come from the world of martial art, but it worked. It worked. Apparently, it worked. This combination of the two of us together, everyone bringing his talent to the table. That's what happened. The movie Revenge of the Ninja. Now, back to your question, the relationship between him and Ken, he was not only the star of the movie, he was also the supplier of the uniform. He was the supplier of the weapons.
Wow.
Sho is a very clever merchant at the same time. He was bringing together, he had a guy, Miko, together they were producing, importing the weapon from Japan for the fight. He was importing the uniform from Japan. And so there was some relationship between them, him and Cannon, which I don't know. But what happened after the movie Revenge of the Ninja was released and had enough of a success for this kind of company, for Cannon, so they wanted immediately a sequel, third sequel. They called me into the office. When I said they, it's mainly the head, Menachem Golan. And he said, okay, we need another one, number 3. But this time, he told me, I don't want Sho as the main hero. So maybe they had a fight, maybe there was some problem. I don't know, behind the scene, behind my back. I wasn't privy to everything, all the relationship between them. And at the time, probably because of aliens, he told me, let's make it a woman. Let's have a heroine instead of a hero. They still wanted Sho to be involved in the movie, to be part of the movie in the same capacity. He was still the supplier of the weapon and the uniform and everything. So this was the evolution. And then something happened between them that he left Cannon altogether. And he started to work with other companies, never came back to work with Cannon. So maybe they did not invest enough in promotion, etc. And about this time, more or less at the same time, they had the deal with Chuck Norris and Charles Bronson.
Yeah.
So they saw it kind of, they're stepping up, they're going up 1 degree, 1 step. Now they're working with Chuck Norris, they're working with Bronson. So maybe they neglected Sho Kosugi. Maybe this is the answer, but I don't know exactly what happened.
And then Trans World welcomed him in open arms.
Correct. That's Moshe Diamant. It's another Israeli, Moshe Diamant, Trans World. And then he had relationship, and he was working with Trans World, making similar kind of movies. Yeah. But there was always competition between Cannon and Trans World. There were two companies who competed. Who is doing better?
Oh, yeah. And he also had the Sho Kosugi Ninja Theater video line where he would host martial arts films.
Hi, I'm Sho Kosugi. Welcome to the Ninja Theater.
He was lucky enough to get a television show.
Yeah, The Master with Lee Van Cleef. Yeah.
So this was probably good work, good income. Sure. There was the reason. But by then, Cannon, I stayed in Cannon. He moved to Trans World. Sure. Trans World was trying to lure me also to move from Cannon to, but I stayed loyal, Moshe Diamant. I stayed loyal to Cannon. And we moved on with American Ninja and other stuff.
And with American Ninja, the Chuck Norris story of how it was developed for him initially, and then he passed on it. And the initial press materials that Cannon would release, of course, they were notorious for announcing things that didn't always come to fruition.
Yes.
But the poster art had him on there, and it says written by, or it said story by Chuck Norris and James Bruner, who was his co-writer.
Correct.
And directed by Joseph Zito, who had just
Joe was already working with Chuck.
Right. He'd just done 2 films with him.
Correct.
So I'd always wondered when it came to you, when they brought the project to you, was there ever a treatment from James Bruner and Chuck Norris at all that you know of? Anything?
No. So first of all, so Nathan, did happen twice. It happens before with Avenging Force, which was called Night Hunter.
Which is the sequel supposedly to Invasion USA.
No, that happened later. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was
after American. Yeah. No, when I was no, there was no treatment. There was nothing for American Ninja.
Okay.
They had Chuck Norris on a contract, Cannon, the company, and they was just presenting him with project. Let's do this, let's do that, let's do this, let's do that. Whatever, Missing in Action, Invasion USA. They just threw ideas and scripts at him because he was exclusive to Cannon. So they needed project, obviously. And when Menachem Golan called me after we did Ninja 3,
the Domination, yeah.
The Domination, Menachem Golan called me and said, we need another. The people wanted, the buyers want more Ninja movies. That's from my point of view. And he called me and said, let's do another one. We are going to do another Ninja movie. This time we'll call it American Ninja. No treatment, no script, nothing. I maybe because I was busy or editing or doing whatever I was doing, I never noticed this poster that later on, of course, I have it in my collection. This poster with Chuck Norris and Joe Zito. And they were already working together, Chuck and so maybe Chuck was involved in kind of developing a American Ninja idea, but he never got into the ninja, Chuck Norris. And maybe, just maybe, because ninjas are face covered, and Chuck Norris is not covering his face. He's Chuck Norris. You know?
Right. It's kind of like Bela Lugosi when they offered him Frankenstein. He didn't want it because he didn't get to speak and he had makeup on.
Makeup, exactly.
Yeah.
So similar. So maybe I don't know. I mean, it may be, and it probably. So when I was approached, there was only one idea: American Ninja. Let's take it and make the hero a ninja, but he's American. And we hired. I was put together in a group together with the 2 producers, Gideon Amir, Avi Kleinberger, and with the writer. I was introduced to a writer, Paul de Milke, and there was only one idea: American Ninja. And they asked us to one more restriction: you have to do it in the Philippines, because maybe the company had some deal, some money in the Philippines, whatever it was, probably some financial arrangement. Yeah. So we had to write a script that will be feasible or will make sense if we shoot it in the Philippines and create a new character from scratch. Only later I saw those posters, etc. Years later, of Chuck Norris as the American Ninja.
Yeah, I'd always thought that was a rumor until I saw those materials. Yeah. And then I always found it fascinating because had he not turned it down, we wouldn't have Michael Dudikoff, the action star.
Correct.
You know, and then of course Avenging Force, which was supposed to be the Matt Hunter character again from Invasion USA.
Correct. So in between, when we came back from American Ninja, and we just finished the editing, we were still editing. You know, we had good we as a crew, as people, as creators, director, editor, cinematographer, the main people. We had this good feeling about American Ninja. It looked good. The movie had a good look, and Dudikoff, Michael, looked very good on the screen, very charismatic. So there was a good feeling. We didn't have an idea we didn't know what will happen. We could not predict the success of American Ninja. And while we were still editing, and the way I remember it, we were in the mixing room. We were mixing the sound, the music, etc. Menachem Golan showed up in the mixing stage, wherever and he was sitting with us watching how they are mixing the sound, and then he turned to me and he gave me a script. He had a script in his hand, and he asked me, "Can you read it and tell me if this is good for Michael Dudikoff and Steve James?" I took the script home, I read it, blew my mind. It was a real script, good script, written by Jim Booth, the English actor. At that point, I did not meet Jim yet, Jim Booth. I read the script, I was so enthusiastic. I said, wow, this is a great script. Again, I didn't know at this point that Chuck Norris already rejected the script because it was a sequel for Invasion USA. Obviously, when you see the movie politically, you probably understand why Chuck Norris didn't want to do the movie. Politically, it was not in his political way.
Although they are extremists for sure. I mean, I wouldn't consider him in that same camp at all, but I get it.
Fighting white supremacy, whatever his reasons, I don't know, I never asked him. So he rejected it. I didn't know. I read the script, I was blown away. I came back next day to Menachem Golan. I said, terrific script, wonderful. It's fantastic for Steve James and Michael Dudikoff. And by then, the company was already making many. By then, the company was going crazy with a contract with Chuck Norris, with a contract with other actors, like already names. By then, they were working with name actors, Bronson and other big names.
Yeah, most of which were doing 2 movies a year.
Mickey Rooney, not Mickey Rooney. And so he didn't have even patience for me. He said, okay, go ahead, make the movie. Just go make the movie. Go to the production. By then there was already production department. The company was big by then. Go talk with the production department and go make the movie with the two of them. They made a deal. The company made a deal with Michael and Steve, I guess. And the script was ready. We didn't have to change one word. We did not have to change one word, except that in the original script, it's Chuck Norris with his daughter. And because Michael Dudikoff is so young, the only thing we had to do to change the daughter to a sister, to a young sister. And by then I was introduced to Jim Booth, the writer. He had a part in the movie also. I really wanted John Ryan when I read the script because I saw John Ryan in Runaway Train.
Yeah, he had just done that for Cannon. Tremendous.
We need this guy, and if they have relationship with him, the company, bring him on. So they send him the script, the company. They arrange a meeting between me and him. We got along very well in the meeting, and he agreed to do the villain, John Ryan, and that's it. We went on. We did it. Again, I did not know, not even during the filming, I never knew the story about Chuck Norris rejecting this script. And while we were and we are filming in New Orleans, the story takes place in New Orleans, in the South, in Louisiana. And while we are filming, suddenly we get the not rumors, but the knowledge, the idea of the success of American Ninja. Because they released the movie while, the movie was released by MGM while we were in New Orleans filming. And neither Mike Dudikoff nor Steve James were involved in promotion. They never took them on promotional tour, nothing. And they didn't, because both of them were filming. We were in New Orleans filming. So even without them being involved at all, suddenly we hear about the success of the movie, the local, domestic, what we call domestic, Canada and USA, and around the world. And we just hear about it. We could not, as I said, no premieres, nothing. We were not involved in anything.
That's sad. You didn't get any fanfare at the time. I mean, did you at least break away from shooting to go see it in the theater if it was playing nearby or anything? Or
maybe. I mean, I knew every nuance of the movie, of course, obviously.
Sure, you're probably sick to death.
I do the editing and the filming and the music and the mixing. I don't remember. Maybe we did. Maybe we went to New Orleans. I don't have a memory of it, but probably in the weekend, we took a weekend off and we went to see the movie.
Oh, yeah.
While we were filming the movie, there was another movie filming in New Orleans exactly the same time, not The Big Easy, another movie. So there was, but it was a big studio movie with an actor. I can't remember. So we were because it was a big studio movie. They had party every weekend. They partied like crazy. They had big so in the weekends they always invited us.
Oh wow!
To the big parties of the. It's some kind of a spooky movie about. I forgot the title. Anyway, we might remember.
I have to think about that. Around 85, probably.
Right there at the same time, we were in New Orleans and filming. Avenging Force was called Night Hunter.
Yeah, that's a great movie. That's so great.
I feel the same. I really like it. From all the action movies that I directed, I believe you cannot. There is no dispute that American Ninja is the most popular. The first American Ninja is the most popular movie that I directed from all the movies I directed. So audience is the ultimate judge, the viewers, the crowd. But I do believe that my feeling that Night Hunter, that Avenging Force is a better action movie from an action point of view and from a story point of view, drama, and from the little bit of a message that there is in it. It's not a preaching movie. It's not a preaching idea, but there is a little message and there is a social commentary. Let's put it this way in the movie.
It's very heavy subject matter.
Yeah,
handled, and you don't see that often in an action film, especially from that period.
Exactly, because nowadays, it became more relevant lately than it was when we filmed the movie.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's
right.
It's a timeless.
Became more relevant in the last 4 or 5 years than it was back then when we filmed the movie. So there was it's kind of prophetic little bit, but this is thanks to the writer. We did not. Again, I'm saying we hardly changed anything in the script. Maybe location. Demand by location and the fact that we changed the daughter to a sister. That's all. Not one word. This is the script. That's exactly the way we filmed it.
So James Booth, was he always attached to be in the film also, or was there a deal made after the fact?
No. I guess when he came to Cannon, we were still in the Philippines. I was still. They knew he was an actor. He was a established actor. With reputation, Zulu in the movie Zulu. And other and the theater and Shakespearean and the British theater, So he came in to Cannon with the idea that they will let him also act. So when he wrote the script, he wrote it in a way that he is the head, the part that he did.
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted to be the villain. Glastonbury, but I really liked John P. Ryan, but he did not.
Oh yeah.
But he immediately took this part of the head of the agency. That maybe he is also suspected as being part of the conspiracy.
Sure, I mean, you get 2 birds with 1 stone. He gets to maybe be
so
the villain.
he wrote the movie in a way that there will be a sequel.
Yeah, see, that ending is so great. And then when George S. Clinton's score kicks in, when Michael Dudikoff says, "So will I," and then I was like, "Oh, I want that."
Clinton's music is fantastic in this
movie. Yes,
fantastic. Really.
And then you bring him on for American Ninja 2, and that theme in the beginning just immediately kicks your ass
with the motorcycle.
Yes, I want the complete score of those. I wish they would be released. I have the CD that has the suites on there.
Right. There is already some. I got all the music for American Ninja from the son of Michael Lee.
Michael Lynn.
Michael passed away. So his son gave me all the music. I put a little video in my channel.
Okay.
The entire score, the entire pieces that he gave me, the cues that he gave me, I strung them together with photos. So if you look at my, or anybody of your listeners or viewers will go to my Sam Firstenberg YouTube channel, there is the American Ninja soundtrack with pictures.
Awesome. Yes.
And then I discovered this, that maybe in Germany or somewhere, the American Ninja 2 soundtrack was partially distributed. Oh,
Yeah.
and I think this is the disc that you have.
Well, this is yeah, it's suites of the scores for American Ninja 2, and Avenging Force, and also American Ninja 3, which George S. Clinton also did. So
Yeah,
it's about
George
20
Clinton.
minutes of music per movie,
Yeah,
but it's
not
cobbled
the
together.
entire.
Right.
But
It's not the individual
lately-
cues. Yeah.
So maybe I should contact him, because lately I spoke with the composer of Ninja 3 The Domination, and he gave me the entire music, the
Oh,
cues,
yeah.
not in the order. So I will string them also together, and I promised, I put it on my Facebook. I promised the fans that I'll put it on very soon. I will post it.
Oh, that would be
The music
fantastic.
for Ninja 3 The Domination. But maybe I should contact George Clinton and
Oh,
ask him.
yeah.
He might have the cues somewhere.
I mean, I'm telling you, the fan base for Cannon is rabid. These
Yeah.
will sell well if he were to just
Yeah.
to bring these out on
For
CD,
those two movies, okay.
or
That's-
even on vinyl. You know, vinyl.
because right, I was somebody asked me, because you know, Revenge of the Ninja came out on a real CD. It
Yeah,
was arranged by the composer
I got
in
that
a
one.
very nice way,
There we go.
right? Rob, and he knew that he was sick, so he knew that he was dying. I didn't know. He didn't tell
Yeah.
me, and he passed away a little bit after it came out. And this is glorious movie music.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
glorious music, unbelievable.
This is signed by him. I bought it.
Oh, you got one from
Wow, I didn't realize like he yeah.
Exactly.
So that's all the more rare.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that he did one score for Cannon. This was it,
This is it.
and they used this endlessly in their
Yeah,
trailers.
here and there.
Yes,
Because it's a great score. It's
It's
great,
excellent.
great.
yeah.
The,
And
the,
there's
the piece that especially the scene that Sho Kosugi decides to come back a ninja and he breaks the sword. The music is magnificent.
yes,
And Clinton went on to become a major studio composer
sure.
after.
He did the
after-
Mortal Kombat scores,
Yeah. Big
Austin
movie.
Powers, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Very talented. very.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I have those two scores, and then this one, but it's not a score. But here we go.
Sure, I have the same.
Yeah.
They can do the music.
So that's the
Holy
only
God,
official Firstenberg soundtrack score releases out there. So I think I've got them all. I hope so. But yeah, I would love the Ninja 3 score. I mean, there's an alternate version of Rob Walsh's Ninja Power theme in the opening titles of Ninja 3.
Yeah.
And then the Misha Segal score, and then the music, the songs too. would be great.
Udi. So Misha sent me all the music. I have the entire, all the cues. It's not
Oh, that's
organized. I have to. He just send it to me raw, just like this.
Do what you want with it. Here you go. Yeah. Oh, that'd be fantastic. Yeah. And did you know that all the songs in Ninja 3, Cannon reused all of those songs that David Powell did, like the Body Shop, all those. They're in the movie Hot Chili that they did, the sex comedy the following year.
I did not
They just
know.
used all the same songs,
But,
not the score, but the songs,
But when we made the story with David Powell, this is the story. When we made the movie One More Chance, I made the movie, I directed when I was a student in the university, in Loyola Marymount University, in my master's degree, graduate school. And we finished the movie. I did it together with my friend David Womark. He was the producer, I was the director, I wrote the script. It took us a year and a half to make the movie. And most of the people were volunteers and students, etc. And we needed the score. And opening song, ending song.
Sure.
Somehow somebody put us together with David Powell, young composer, musician. He had a little band. He lived in Venice, here in Los Angeles, Venice. And this was somehow somebody introduced us, and he wrote the music, the soundtrack, the score for One More Chance, and maybe a song in the beginning. But we couldn't pay him, obviously. most of the people worked voluntarily in this movie, One More Chance, including Kirstie Alley. She came with no pay. It was
Wow.
her first movie.
Which
And
most people don't know
then,
that's her first movie. They think it's Star Trek 2, but this is her first
no,
film. Yeah.
from this movie, she was recruited to Star Trek.
Yeah.
She used the material, she used the reel of One More Chance to get the job in Star Trek.
There you go. Congrats. Look at you.
Yeah.
What did you want to see me for?
Oh, I talked to Loretta on the phone, and she said that she's going to come and see.
She will?
Yeah, she will.
Will she bring my boy?
I think so.
When?
Monday, a week from today.
A week from today.
Yeah.
So then when we got the chance to do Ninja 3 The Domination, it was again myself and David Womark was the producer, and we needed songs. So we felt that we owe David Powell something to help him make some money. So we called him in, and he was writing. He was more of a songwriter, not so much as musical score, you know. And he came in and he wrote all the songs that appear in Ninja 3 The Domination. And later he worked for Canon, a few more songs here and there. So
Yeah.
this was the story, the history between us and David Powell. Also, not long ago, I read in the internet, because many people are asking me about the song, how can we get it clean, the entire song from beginning to end? So when I started to inquire, I found out that he passed away also, David Powell.
Man.
And I cannot find any connection to anyone who knows where the originals are. Or not originals, copies. I cannot
Maybe
find.
MGM has them in their vault because they use them also.
Yeah, but Canon, everything disappeared. We
Mm,
cannot find anything from Canon. We
really?
cannot find the missing scenes from the Ninja movies. We cannot find the missing scenes from American Ninja. MGM doesn't have it. So maybe when Canon went bankruptcy, Canon went at the end of Canon, it ended up in bankruptcy. So maybe everything went to garbage cans. I don't know.
Wow.
Nobody knows. The wardrobe, the props, and not only from the movies I directed. They had about
Everything.
300, 400 movies. I don't know.
Oh my God.
And because it went bankruptcy, the creditors, they probably took the most important thing, like MGM, they have the cut negative or the interpositive, it's called interpositive, of the Ninja movies. They don't have the takeouts
Okay.
because we contacted them. The editor, Michael Duffy, regretfully also passed away 2 years ago.
Man.
The edited all the Ninja movies. He
Yeah,
had
so
some
many for
connection in
you.
MGM, and he was
Yeah.
trying to find, and they were looking, and they said the only thing we have is the cut negative. That's the only thing we got from Canon in the bankruptcy proceeding or whatever, or they had it before. But so same thing with the songs, probably. I don't know.
It's a
Nobody
shame.
knows where all the Canon possession is.
Yeah. Well, I hope they compensated David again when they used him in Hot Chili and then also in the movie Hot
Probably,
Resort.
because
Yeah.
there are the rules of the musicians. They
Yeah.
have all kind of rules.
But who knows? You never know.
You never know.
hold
Maybe
that
there
hope.
is somebody somewhere. David, from what I read in the internet, David had he lived with somebody. He had a partner, life partner, and maybe this guy knows where the
Yeah.
originals are.
Could be
I
sitting
don't
in a box in the garage somewhere. You never know.
Maybe in some garage.
Well, it's like you were saying about the transfer for Riverbend earlier when we were talking.
Riverbend, that they found
Like that comes out in who
we
would
found
know?
a copy, we found another copy, and now we know where the negative is.
That's amazing.
The original negative with the internegative, with the interpositive.
And that movie, I think, is very close knit to Avenging Force and thematic material. I mean, it really leans into that, and it's more of a drama. And it was marketed as an action film, I think, but it's definitely a drama.
Maybe this isn't any of my business. Maybe I shouldn't ask. But if you are successful with the assassination, What happens then? What's your next move?
Well, whatever happens next is better than what's happening right now.
Well, if that's the approach you're going to take, chances are you're going to fail.
Well, you sure know a lot of fancy words, mister. How you gonna come in here and tell us about our town?
It ain't your town, that it never will be, until you take it over by force.
You know, another movie that somebody was trying to find the original material is American Samurai. And we cannot find the original material because also this company, Global, only produced 2 movies and disappeared.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
So that was after Menachem had left. Yeah. And that was Yoram Globus and Christopher Pierce pushing
correct.
global.
It's more than left. They split. No, first they left, correct. And then, correct. Yoram Globus together with Christopher Pierce, with Chris Pierce. What happened, Cannon ran into trouble, financial trouble, more and more to the end of the 80s. And they brought in, and they owed a lot of money to banks, Credit Lyonnais Bank, and etc. So they needed cash because he did not make money. They only spend money.
Yeah, they
or they didn't make money fast enough to cover the problems that they have.
And they had theater chains and all these extra.
In England, they spent a lot of money in theater chains in England. And they didn't make money with Superman. So they were in trouble. And in comes a guy from Italy, Peretti, with a lot of cash. Turns out later to be that it was probably not clean money. It was for purpose of laundering money, probably. But anyway, and he wanted to become part of the decision making, this Peretti. And Menachem Golan, which was in Cannon, he was the boss. He was the decision maker always. He couldn't live with, he was a character that he could not live with one additional decision maker. You know, so they were partner. Menachem Golan was the creative decision maker. The Yoram Globus was the financial side of the company. So he was an autocrat in the company. Now comes another person. Menachem Golan could not live with it, and he decided to leave the company, to leave Cannon. Mm-hmm. They did some financial arrangement. They gave him few titles, and Cannon was left with few titles. But it was at the same time Cannon went into bankruptcy. So Menachem Golan got some money and created another company, 21st Century, and Yoram Globus got some money and titles. One of the titles was he took the title Delta Force.
Yeah.
And he created another company, Global, and Cannon was dissolved by the court, and creditors all over, Charles Bronson, MGM, Warner Brother got some pieces.
Yeah.
Whoever they own money to got some pieces of the MGM got all the movies that I directed. With the titles, with the rights.
Own the lion's share of the
lion's share because they probably owned more money to MGM than to any other company.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, because we use the lab, we use the services, everything was done through MGM. Okay. At that time, MGM was in Culver City before Sony took over, and that's how Global was created. Meantime, this guy Peretti bought MGM. With cash. So him and Yoram Globus became the president and the CEO of MGM. Chris Pierce was the head of production of Cannon at the time. So now Chris Pierce and Yoram Globus are together. Yoram Globus is busy because he's now the president of MGM. So Chris Pierce was running this little company which was called Global. Global produced only 2 movies. I directed those 2 movies. The best possession they had was Delta Force, so we did the Delta Force number 3. By then, they did not have the deal with Chuck Norris anymore because it was another company. Maybe they owe him money as well, part of the bankruptcy.
I think they renegotiated with him because he ended up doing The Hitman during that era. Hellbound, and Walker, Texas Ranger started off as
which
Cannon
was
Television. Yeah.
Correct, which was initiated also by Canon.
Yes.
But Canon lost it in the bankruptcy proceedings. But it was initiated by Canon.
Yeah,
Walker.
and it became CBS, just took it over.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. The part of the bankruptcy. When we finished Delta Force number 3, which did pretty well, it was Warner Brother, pretty well. Not as good as probably the first two, but it was good. And then they wanted to make something similar to American Ninja. And they already knew David Bradley because he did American Ninja number 3 for Canon. So Chris Pierce already knew David Bradley. I didn't know him by that point. So, but they found out that MGM will not release this title American Ninja. They kept it until today. They are keeping it very tight. They don't let anyone use this phrase American Ninja, MGM. MGM is now Amazon, so I don't know what will happen now.
Yeah, who knows?
So they wanted to do something ninja, to capitalize on this idea, American Ninja. They couldn't, so they settled on American Samurai, which will evoke in the audience mind American Ninja. Sure. David Bradley, that was American Ninja number 3. He will be now American Samurai. And the Yoram Globus and Menachem Golan, they had a studio in Israel, filming studio. They split. Menachem Golan left the partnership, but it was still owned by Yoram Globus. So he wanted to use it to utilize, as well as Delta Force number 3. So we use this studio, which is somewhere between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, in Delta Force number 3 and in American Samurai. Yeah. And then this company disappeared. So now trying to find the elements, the negative, we cannot.
Really?
Yeah.
And that stuff is owned by Warner Brothers, I believe, right? So they...
Delta Force 3 was Warner Brothers.
Yeah. And I think American Samurai was too?
No, I don't think so, but
maybe.
But sometimes even, when those companies get the right to distribute the movie, it doesn't mean that they have all the elements. It doesn't mean that they have all the negative. They might have a final cut negative, but not the outtakes and the etc.
Right.
So even like I told you the story with MGM, they don't have the entire material, everything.
Wow.
But it might be sitting in some lab. We found the Riverbend in Photocam. Somebody told us that it is in Photocam. And another negative is in the Library of Congress. Most of American movies, there is one copy in the Library of Congress. Not negative, one positive copy.
Okay.
Good, because they don't screen it. They rarely screen movies, the Library of Congress. It's just for the copyright.
Preservation, yeah.
It's also part of, when you copyright any work, you need to give one copy, like a book or anything, one copy to the Library of Congress. So there might be a positive in the Library of Congress, but we didn't go after that.
That's interesting. And I've seen an interview that you did about American Samurai on, I believe it's the Viking Samurai YouTube channel, where you talked about how they took that away from you and recut the film against your wishes. And I never thought about it before until you said that. And I was like, well, that would have been so much better the way you wanted to do it.
And you will see it soon.
Oh, okay.
So, Nathan, here's what happened. It's an interesting story, and it shows you how Hollywood works, how things work in Hollywood. I directed about 25 movies. My version of the editing is always the final version. That in all the other movies, Revenge of the Ninja, Ninja 3, American Ninja, Break Into Electric Boogaloo, any movie. The two Cyborg Cop with David Bradley, Cyborg Cop. We were in Israel filming the movie American Samurai. And I got a job in Israel to direct a television series, not Israeli, actually an American, for ABC. It was called Sweating Bullet. It was Sunday night, some kind of detective show. So I got a job. I was the main director. You know, in television, there are a few directors because every week we're filming an episode. One director cannot do alone. So I stayed in Israel. So they agreed, the company agreed, because they have studios in Israel, they agreed that we will do the editing in Israel. Because most of the movies that I directed, the editing always came back to the US, including the previous movie that I made for this company, which was Delta Force number 3. The material was shipped to Los Angeles, the same editor, Michael Duthie, and we were editing here. In this case, because I got another job in Israel, they agreed that and they in the studio, they had an editing room and everything. So we'll edit in Israel. So we were editing. I was working on the television show. In the weekend, every weekend I met with the editor to see how we progress, and it was finished. The movie basically has this more or less the same structure like all the ninja movies. There is a lot of mystery. I always believed, I learned from Sho Kosugi, and I always believed that if you make a ninja movie, the crowd of a ninja movies, they understand that ninjas goes together with mystery. Mysticism.
Sure.
Something is not clear, something you don't understand, and it will be, if it's a good movie, the mystery will be revealed at the end of the story, of course. It's a good structure for every movie, but in ninja movies, you need a lot of it. So I apply the same principles to samurai movie. Let's say American Samurai, which is a different ninja. So it starts with a lot of mystery about the origin of the character of David Bradley. Who is he? Why is he? Why is he fighting? And of course, it's peeled like onion peels. You know, you reveal at the end of the movie or toward the end of the movie, you understand who are the two brothers, why are they in rivalry, what is the problem between them. The way I believe in martial art movies should be, or ninja movies should be done. Finish the editing, we ship. I was busy in Israel, as I told you. I was directing in Israel. And we shipped the entire material to the US, to the headquarters of this company, Global, which was run by Christopher Pierce, by Chris Pierce. At that time, they hired a producer. The company, they needed names or whatever. So they hired a producer, and they decided collectively, it was a tiny company, small company, only like 4 people working there, that this way of presenting a story, which is non-linear, which, you know, you go back and forth, and as the movie goes, you let the audience guess what the character was coming from, and you reveal it, and they didn't like it. They wanted a linear movie. Once upon a time, there was a little boy, and he had a brother. You know, like Little Riding Hood, Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time. So this was, and they changed it. I didn't know. When I finished this 1 year work, I came here. The movie was they just finished the re-editing. And on top of it, they decided to shoot some fight scenes between David Bradley and Mark Dacascos without hiring them, with doubles, only doubles. And to add a sex scene or love scenes between David Bradley and the main actress, I forgot her name, without them, with doubles. So they invite me to see the movie, and I see the movie. So first of all, it was linear. So they shot a story about a little boy. They added scenes. And then I see a love scene between David, but so obvious, it is so obvious that those are not the actors. And then I see a fight between David and Mark Dacascos, you know, 2 major martial artists, and it's not them. It's obviously doubles. It's not Mark. So it was not the edit that I intended. It was not according to the original script. And anyway, they released the movie like this. And I just complained about it. Every interview I had, I complained about it. People ask me, And some people with sharp eyes, they realize that something is wrong with this movie. They see a fight between David and Mark. You know, Mark is an excellent major martial artist.
Sure.
It doesn't look like him. Or a love scene that you don't see the actors. So people realized, and actually, and by instinct, there is one guy somewhere, not in the US, that re-edited the movie and posted it. There is a version on the screen. There is a version on the internet that a guy in Hong Kong or somewhere re-edited the movie the way he figured out it should be. So I was, just not long ago, a year and a half ago, I was approached by a Canadian movie maker, Lyle Goodman, and he read the same thing what you read or heard the interview, and he said, I want to help you to restore the movie to its original form.
Wow.
Can we have a script? And I started to look around. I don't have the script. My script, original script, might be in Israel. It might be not here.
Okay.
I couldn't find it. Nobody could find the script. So I told Lyle, let's do it from my memory. I have a good memory.
Okay.
But the problem that we faced, that because they added scenes, the people, they took away, then they wanted to stay within the 90 minutes, they took away some fight scenes. And we don't have material.
Yeah.
He's using two different DVDs, a European version and American version, to put it together. But the missing scenes, the missing fight, never mind some scenes are okay, but there are some beautiful fights. There are good fights in this, in the arena in this movie. So we believe that we are missing two fight scenes that we cannot recreate if we don't have the original material. But we rearranged the story back. We threw away the love scene, the fake love scene.
Oh no!
Then we threw away the fake fight scene between David and Mark, and rearranged the story, and not in a linear way, but in the way it was in the script, with a mysticism, and you don't know who the hero is, and you don't know what his brother, and it is revealed as we peel off the leaves of the onion and getting to the heart of the story. So it's nice. I think that fans will love it.
Absolutely, I would.
The way we put it, and especially the final fight between David Bradley and Mark Dacascos.
Do you remember shooting a lot of violent gore?
Yeah. So we found in the European DVD, we found some of it. And
awesome.
Yeah, you know, here we have problem. Here we have problem with decapitations, with body parts. I had the same problem there is a decapitation in Revenge of the Ninja. We cut it out. So we have stills of the decapitation. We don't have it in the movie. And as I told you, MGM cannot find it. The editors of MGM were looking for it. They cannot find it. We had the police, even something as simple as part of the mayhem at the end of the movie in Revenge of the Ninja, part of it, a policeman gets shot with an arrow in his neck and dies. They had to take it out. They don't allow policemen. Killing for at least at the time in the 80s. I know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And the same thing with the little boy in the opening scene, he gets a shuriken right here, and we had to take it out. Violence against children. We couldn't use it.
Wow.
So for this, and there are other versions of Revenge of the Ninja that people can figure out some stuff and put it back together. But there are publicity shots of the decapitation and of the policeman, and people are posting it on all over the social media.
I believe I've seen those, yeah.
So is the case of, so in American Samurai, we found some of the violence in the European version, and he's incorporating it within the fights, putting it back together.
Yeah. It's very obvious too. The cuts are very obvious.
Yeah, it is obvious. Because usually when we get to this stage, we send it to the AMRP. They send it back. Usually they are not specific. They don't write specifically what they want out. The committee just say, violence against children are not allowed. Too violent, and so and so. And you as the director, together with the editor, we have to second guess what they mean. Mm-hmm. So you take it. You take here and the two things out. Send it back to them. They send it back to you. Not enough. It's still so and so. Okay, and eventually they give it a R rating, because X rating, otherwise they give it X rating, and theaters will not play a movie with the X rating.
Yeah.
And this was the rules of the 80s. This was the game of the 80s.
Sure.
They wouldn't play X rating, so you have to eventually reach the R rating, which means action with some kind of violence. Now, of course, studios have more leverage. They have more power more leverage to fight the committee. We were independent company. We didn't have the power to fight the committee.
Yeah. Cannon was the little studio that could, not so much. They got away with what they could, basically.
Yeah, but a little bit more than the independents.
Yeah.
But on the European version, it was already out. They sold it. The editing is finished, everything is finished, and my friend Lyle Goodwin, he's just now putting into upgrading the quality maybe to 1080. It's difficult, despite the fact that there is a AI upgrading today. It depends very much on your original material. You cannot. There is limit to this magic, how much this magic works. And I was in Germany 2 months ago. Sean David has a place like you. His room is like yours, with collection behind him. And he has a podcast just like you, but in Germany.
Okay.
And he arranged screening of American Ninja and American Ninja 2, theatrical screening. I was the guest of honor, Q&A, answering questions, signing. And Judy Aronson was with me.
That's fantastic.
And he prepared from the DVD. There is a process, but DVD is already, from the Blu-ray. Blu-ray is already good quality. Somehow they upgraded it to 4K. And on the screen, it was unbelievable. The quality on the screen, including sound, was unbelievable.
Wow.
But the material to work with, the Blu-ray, is already good material, good quality.
Sure.
So, they transfer it to a different format, which is for screening.
Speaking of MGM, I wanted to ask you, so they had the partnership with Cannon, and they did the first Breakin, but they did not distribute Breakin 2. That was TriStar Pictures.
Correct. There is also...
Why was that, do you think?
There is also good story, good gossip type of a story.
Okay.
Canon, at the beginning, at the early stage, they forged some kind of relationship with the MGM, MGM had a lab, had all the facilities here in Culver City. It was the historical MGM studios. And also with Photochem, it's a lab. So we used to develop and mix sound in MGM. Even the first movie I made, One More Chance, the sound mixing was done in MGM. You know, what an experience. For a second, I'll tell you, I'm just student. I'm just finishing my first movie I directed for no money at all. And here we are mixing the sound in a mixing room that has more Oscars that you can count on the wall. All the mixers, the people that are all Oscar winning sound mixers. So it's quite an experience. So Canon used MGM for services, and they were trying to get them to release any of Canon movie, New Year's Evil, Enter the Ninja, all of it. And MGM and all the other majors are rejecting all those movies. They didn't want. Eventually, Revenge of the Ninja, we told the story. MGM saw the movie. They said, okay, we are taking it for distribution. They did the famous poster of Sho Kosugi flying in the red sky. This was done by MGM. Major campaign. They kind of invited me, not that I understand anything about marketing, but MGM was courteous enough to invite me. A Spanish radio campaign, English radio campaign, television campaign. It was done the real way, the way movies are being distributed. And from this point on, there was a better relationship between Canon and MGM, to the point that they became the exclusive distributor for Canon. Now, Canon had a bunch of low budget movies that they made in Italy with Lou Ferrigno.
The Hercules.
All kind of Hercules.
Yeah, and the Seven Magnificent Gladiators.
Cheap looking movies.
Yeah.
So they took all those movies and they dumped it into the deal with MGM. MGM became furious because they expected movies like at least like Revenge of the Ninja and the movies that Joe Zito directed, you know.
The Charles Bronson films, yeah.
Bronson movies. Yeah. That's what they expected. And suddenly they got all this. And there was probably a deal of sharing profit, you know, how the usually distribution, but distribution usually takes off expenses. And then after they take off the expenses from the remaining, they share. On all those Italian movies, they didn't make one penny. They only lost money, MGM. You know? And meantime, were companies using all the services. It was a big deal, not only distribution. All the lab work, all the developing, all the sound, all the special effects, everything, MGM. It was exclusive deal. So probably now they don't make. And then Canon makes the movie BREAKIN. The movie BREAKIN came out, was a phenomenal success. You remember when it came out. It was, you know, all the girls of the ninjas was for the boy, BREAKIN was for the girl. The movie made on the first 2-3 weeks, tens and millions of dollars in the box office. I remember the atmosphere in the company. They were ecstatic. How much money the movie, but meantime, who is collecting the money? MGM, not the procedure, the way it works. MGM is collecting the money, not Canon. Now, Canon comes to MGM. I simplify the story and say, okay, where is our share? The movie made 40 million, 80 million, I don't know, where is our share? MGM told them, no, first, now you will repay everything retroactively.
Okay.
And sometimes the deals is that you don't pay that retroactively. I don't know exactly how was the deal, but anyway, that's what MGM demanded. So they say, we are not giving you one penny to Canon. We'll use all the profit to pay ourselves retroactively for everything we lost from your movies before. Expenses, whatever. It created a rift, obviously, fight between MGM and Canon. And Canon is ready to make this movie, Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. They wanted it fast. You know, they approached me. They, for some reason, they did not use the original director of Breakin. They approached me and said, let's make this. We need it fast, as soon as possible. You know that this is, by the way, this is probably the only sequel in American history, in Hollywood history, that the original and the sequel came out in the same year. I don't know of any other movie.
There's a couple examples.
But this is famous. Yeah. Everybody's talking about it.
Oh, so because it was what, February and then December or something?
December.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about any other franchise or sequel that came out in the same year. Yeah. I'm not talking about those cheap Tarzan movies or the, you know.
No, but Larry Cohen did Black Caesar and the sequel Hell Up in Harlem, both in 1973.
In the same year.
Okay. And then Universal did a couple of the Mummy movies in the same year.
So while they are preparing the movie, Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo, and we are in pre-production, and they are now made with Canon and MGM, they forged a relationship with the TriStar Columbia. It was Columbia TriStar. Yeah. The head of TriStar was an Israeli guy, David Matalon.
Okay.
And they knew him. Canon were Israelis, and David Matalon, and they knew him. And David Matalon really wanted the movie because the first movie was such a big success. And they promised to pour more money into this production, which they did. It was not a cheap movie, Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo. And Canon hoped that now they will have relationship with Columbia rather with, you know, they will break away from MGM and they will move to Columbia because TriStar was Columbia.
Yeah.
And this is the reason, probably, as far as I know, to answer your question, it did not happen. Relationship with Columbia did not happen, but they did release later on, etc.
I think they did one other
but they came back to MGM. American Ninja, that was done later, was distributed by. So they mended the relationship somehow, and the American Ninja went back to MGM.
And that was about pretty much the end of the MGM cycle, I think, when you did American Ninja, because Avenging Force was totally canon. It wasn't MGM.
Yeah, but today it belongs. Right, you're right.
They own it. They own it now. Yes, yes.
No, Avenging Force. There was another rift between. After American Ninja, there was another rift between Canon and MGM, and then and Canon decided at this point, but by then they were kind of big, making big movies. And many more movies. And right then, by the way, this is the downfall of, this was the reason, one of the reasons of the not such a big success for Avenging Force. And right there, they had another fight with MGM, and they had decided that they will create their own distribution, domestic distribution company, because they had company in England already. But they will create a domestic North American distribution company, Canon Distribution, and US and Canada. But what they did not realize, maybe, that distributing in North America is very difficult. It's the knowledge, the expertise, because it's a relationship between picking up a movie, publicity, marketing, and relationship with theaters. There are relationships between the theater chains and the studios, very strong. And if a studio if a studio needs a movie to be distributed in this certain period of time, they will not let an independent company to come in and take over the theaters. So there is strong relationship, or there was, I don't know today, between theater chains and studios. So the theater chains, which once upon a time were part of the studios, before they forced them to separate, antitrust. So they still had good relationships, strong, not good, and Canon Distribution suddenly realized that, whoa, putting a movie in a theater, major release is not easy. And this was the fate of Avenging Force. Was the first movie distributed by this Canon, but this new company, Canon Release.
Wow.
And I think it suffered, of course, because if with the MGM, they would market it as Michael Dudikoff, the American Ninja, blah blah blah, whatever.
That's
They
probably
promote
what.
it on top on the fame of American Ninja.
Sure. Do
And
you think is that another reason why they? I mean, they were going to do a sequel to American Ninja anyway, but do you think that propelled them to want to do the sequel immediately after Avenging Force? To kind of
yeah, I mean, of course, what we are talking about domestic distribution. There is the rest of the world. You know, this is only North America we're talking about.
Yeah.
You have Canon used to sell the movies to the rest of the world to local distributors. It's called district, different markets.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you have the African market. You sell a movie to an Australian distributor, to Germanic speaking countries, to England, to France. This was the bread and butter of Canon. Canon did not rely on the domestic.
Sure.
Canon relied on the so-called, what we called foreign sales. There is
Cannes Film Festival, yeah.
In foreign sales is the rest of the world. So after Avenging Force, Menachem Golan again calls me and he said, they want more American. I need more American Ninja. The market is calling for more American Ninja. When he says the market, he means the international.
Sure.
The buyers.
Yeah.
They call them buyers. The buyers want more American Ninja. Let's go back to American Ninja. American Ninja number 2, later on number 3, number 4, number 5. This was a good franchise, a very good franchise. But you know, you are blaming Canon for killing. They also killed this franchise by not being careful about how to treat this franchise. How to, I mean, they killed them. They killed Superman.
Yeah.
Almost.
I think they put all that money into Masters of the Universe because it shows better in that film, far better than Superman 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sad. But that's why you passed on American Ninja 3, or did they even offer it to you?
No, they did not offer it. What happened, you know, they at that time they forged a relationship with a South African company which was called New Metro. This was the name of the company.
Avi
It was
Lerner?
a company, New Metro, NU, like New Image, New Metro.
Yeah.
It was an exhibition. They had almost all the movie theaters in South Africa. The head of the company was Israeli. They knew him also. So at the time, there was some kind of a tax shelter deal in South Africa because South Africa was at the end. It was the end of the apartheid, and South African merchants could not use rands. That they needed some way to transfer the money to dollars. So this there was some deal. South Africa rules, the governmental rules for tax benefits. So this company offered Canon, bring American Ninja 2 to South Africa. It will be cheaper to make right here. And we did. We went to South Africa. Now in South Africa, what we did, the film industry was not very developed in South Africa. Of course, they had television business, like every country in the world. But the movie business was not very developed. So we had to bring with us people from Hollywood to South Africa. The labor in South Africa was very cheap, like in the Philippines, because of the exchange, the rate exchange between rands and dollars. But still, us, wardrobe lady, stunt coordinator, BJ Davis, Mike Stone came with me to South Africa, Michael Dudikoff, Steve James, actors, and few cinematographer, few key people. They had to pay us salaries, American salaries. And so we made the movie, and we used, so the crew was mixed, and the cast, mixed. So Africans, South Africans, and people who came from Hollywood. And the people who came from Hollywood, which were like the key people, head of department, helped the local people just elevate the professional level, move from television to movies, you know, if we can generalize it. Stunt people, lighting, technical, everything. And then this company, New Metro, offered Canon, and this was the mistake. You know, it's the story. It's the story of the goose that lays golden eggs. They say, okay, why do you need to bring all those expensive people from America? Let us make it locally, 100% local South African. We save a lot of money. So they use Greg, the writer, Cedric, the director. They're all South African. Yeah. And all the crew was, at this point, South African. Many of the actors, all the stunt people. B.J. Davis stayed in South Africa. He decided to stay in South Africa. And so did Mike Stone. But then they became South African, not anymore. They didn't have to pay them as Hollywood people, but as South African. And they didn't even call any of us. So cinematography, wardrobe, everything was South Africa, which was, of course, much cheaper. But the look is cheaper.
The film, it suffers as a result.
Yeah. You make it for less money, it looks cheaper.
Yeah.
And at some point, you know, you kill the goose to take out all the golden eggs, but that's it, no more golden eggs. And that's what happened to this series. Superman, same thing. In the Hollywood tradition, a studio, when they make a sequel, they spend more money. You know, when a studio make a sequel, not necessarily successful, but they spend more. They become more lavish. They want the movie to look much bigger, much more beautiful than the original. The sequel to look better than the original. So if you talk about the Fast and Furious, every sequel looks better, greater, bigger and bigger, and and Canon went the other way.
Well, they
so they didn't even call me to do this. So I was supposed to go after American Ninja 2. I was supposed to go with Chuck Norris to the Philippines to make was it Missing in Action #3?
I didn't know that.
Eventually, I did not. I met with the Chuck. I met with the writer. We were working. Eventually, I did not go. It was my choice, and there was a big accident there with a helicopter. Few people died. There was a
because Aaron Norris ended up.
Aaron directed it, but there was a big disaster with a helicopter accident.
I'd always wondered if you were given that opportunity to work with Chuck, or even
this was the one.
Wow. Okay.
So you know, I have few misses, few rejections. That not so much this, but I rejected Bloodsport.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We came back from American Ninja. American Ninja, 9 weeks shooting. 2.5 units, 2 full units, filming units, and another half a unit that did all the beauty shots, etc. A crew of 300 people, 9 weeks, 6 days, big movie. I'm working Mike Stone, Tadashi Yamashita, Richard Norton, big names in the martial art world.
Oh yeah.
And when I come back to the office, we're in the editing, and a producer approaches me. What's his name? I forgot his name. The producer. And he gives me a script and he said, you know, the company suggested that I show you the script. There was no Van Damme, only script.
Was it Mark DeSalle?
Mark DeSalle. Mark came to me in the offices and said, would you read the script? The company suggests that you direct this movie. I took the script and I read it one location, the entire script, one location. So after this huge American Ninja, it was not to my liking. I'm this big director in my mind. I'm a big director that makes this huge movie, and with the 300 people crew and big action sequence, and now they want me to to direct a movie in one location. I don't know. So I told Mark, you know, I'm not interested, and he was kind of mad at me, Mark.
Well, but also, who knew what that movie?
No,
nobody.
Hindsight, I'm laughing because I said, and we went to make, and then I was offered the Avenging Force instead, which I like very much. So no regret, but it just tells you the irony of things, how they happen, and they went on and they did their Bloodsport, and you probably know that even when they came, the movie was finished, the company really did not like the movie.
Yeah.
And it was delayed 2 years. It was not distributed for 2 years after the end of the editing.
Yeah, it's set in 86 to 88.
you know, so they said, so-called on the shelf. It was 2 years on the shelf, and Van Damme was bugging Menachem Golan, until he brought in Sheldon Lettich, and Michael Duffy, the editor, and Sheldon did some changes, and they moved around the story, wrote few scenes, maybe dialogue scenes. They re-edited it, Michael Duffy with Van Damme, with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and with Sheldon, and then the movie came out. The rest is history.
Oh, sure. I mean, up to that point, Van Damme was a stunt double on the first Missing in Action, and he's an extra in Breakin. He tries to steal that scene, and he's in it with Leela Rashawn, by the way, who they both ended up doing a movie in the 90s called Knockoff. But and she was married to Adolfo Quinones at the time, and she's also
she was,
yeah.
She was on the set. You see her together with Susie Bono. There is a scene in Breaking 2, Susie Bono, confronting Lucinda, and next in a club, and next to her is what's her name? She was his wife.
Leela Rashawn, yeah.
And then she became a star.
Years later, But it's just ironic. And I mean, but who knew that Van Damme would become what he was? And Newt Arnold directed.
This is the beauty, Nathan. This is the beauty of the mystery of this medium. It's called cinema. It's very hard to predict. Very hard to know. How would you know that such a small, tiny movie with an unknown actor called Rocky that was made only for $1 million will become a classic?
Best Picture.
Not only popular and moneymaker, but a classic of cinema. Who would have known? You cannot predict it. It's if producer could have predicted what will happen with movie, all of them would have been billionaires.
Sure, and no one wanted.
This is the beauty.
Yeah,
I think this is the beauty. This mystery of cinema. Who will pass on the screen? Who will look good on the screen? Who will not good on the screen?
You reunited with Michael Dudikoff on Quicksand in 2002, I believe it was. How was that working with him so many years later? Was that just like getting back on the bike kind of thing?
First of all, Michael and me, we are in connection here and there, back and forth all the time. He lives not far from me. I mean, 1 hour drive, but still, but not too far. And we had this common history, success we did together. So once in a while we talk on the phone, we keep in touch. We were approached by an Indian production company in India. Big studio, not really part of the Bollywood establishment, but in the south of India, in Hyderabad, there is a big studio, and they wanted to make a totally Western movie, not an Indian movie. Somehow they approached me, and they really, for the story, for the script, Michael was good. They really wanted Michael, and I helped them to approach Michael, and he agreed to do the movie, and we all went together to India. It was quite an experience, I'll tell you. The story doesn't take place in India. It's in Arizona, and it looks like Arizona because the desert over there in Hyderabad, in the southern part of India where we were, the desert looked just like Arizona. So we decided to place the story. But, this was years later. It's not an action per se movie. There is no
it's a drama. It's a thriller.
Yeah, thriller. So we had a good time, but the working condition, nothing to do with Michael or with me, are so, for us, so difficult, so different. Movie making in India is so different from the way we make movies here in Hollywood or any other Western country, or even in the Philippines, which they work on the Western system. The Indian system is totally different of movie making. So it was hard for us, but our relationship were strong, and we still keep in touch. When we came back, he got married, 2 children. He just sent them to college this year.
Wow.
And we speak once in a while. We are in connection, but it was not the same. It was not the glory days of American Ninja, because
Sure.
Mike is very athletic, and he was good in action. Michael is very athletic. He shines in action and in sequences and fight sequences and action sequences. But through the years, he was beaten a lot. He lost his balance because of some virus that got in his ear in New Orleans, and he was hacked and beat many times, and his knees, etc. So, but we didn't have to deal with this, with the physical part of it. But that's where Michael really shines, in my opinion, when it comes to athletic, physical stuff.
He was so impressive because I only knew him, but when American Ninja happened, I knew him from Bachelor Party.
Yeah.
And I remember at the video store holding the cover because he's on the poster for Bachelor Party and American Ninja. I was like, I don't know. Let's see.
By the door.
And he completely wins me over. Like
he wanted to. Michael was on his way to comedy. He wanted to be in comedy. But he did one movie with Albert Payun before American Ninja.
Radioactive Dreams.
Correct.
Yeah.
We didn't mention also Albert Payun as part of this group of directors.
Yeah.
He was
did a lot of camp.
He is mentioned in the book. Albert is mentioned in the book.
Yeah.
So I saw they showed me a Radioactive Dream before we chose Michael. I saw Radioactive Dream.
Okay.
So this was a major movie, which was in the sci-fi action side that Michael did with Albert.
Yeah, and John Stockwell. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great little movie, and that's another one that's only on VHS and Laserdisc. Never been on DVD.
There is a whole. I have discovered there is a whole world of so-called orphan movies. Those movies were made by companies that went bankrupt.
Yeah, that was.
And they are in a legal limbo. Movies have some legal, like every art creation have some legal status where it stands legally. Who is the owner? Who owns the rights? Who owns the distribution rights? Not many, but companies who made many movies went bankrupt, disappeared. And suddenly the movie is hanging in the air. The owner is not there anymore. But there is not for some of the movies, there are no new owners. Or there was an owner that lost the rights after 10 years. It was limited time. And suddenly the movie is floating. The lab doesn't allow you to touch the negative because they say, bring me a letter from the owner. And the people who wants to let's say distribute the movie, they say there is no owner. How do this is being tried? I think there is trying to resolve it legally. Even you're holding the Riverbend. Riverbend was produced by a totally independent company, was sold to a company which was called IRS, Intercontinental Release Company. Yeah, they gave it to MGM for 10 years. Within the 10 years, this company went bankrupt. MGM lost the rights after 10 years, but they hold the rights, but they don't have a right. They cannot exploit it anymore. So there are custodians in a way.
Okay, yeah.
They don't know what to do. MGM doesn't know what to do. There is nobody to give it back to. And so they are the custodians of the movie, semi-legal situation. The laboratories says, if you want to make a print or scan the negative, they said, bring me a letter from IRC. There is no IRC. So maybe MGM can release. MGM said, we don't own the rights anymore. So there is this whole world of the movies of Albert Payun.
No.
Those movies which are hanging in the air legally, from a legal point of view. Maybe it will be resolved, because it is a problem. There are thousands of movies, thousands and thousands of movies like this, which were produced by small companies that don't exist. So you know, Nathan, the German publisher Marco Siedelman once approached me, and
I've heard. I've not gotten this book yet. I need to get this book.
Yeah, get it. Amazon, not expensive.
Okay.
Though it's huge, but many of them, most of it is photos, not writing.
But it's your stories in the war zone, basically. But
and it deals with a lot of this low budget independent movies of the 80s. Not only Firstenberg movies, other movies that belong to the same genre, which we call today the independent low budget genre movies of the 80s. Toby Hooper, Joe Zito, Sheldon, and this group of directors who.
Oh yeah, the exploitation market,
action, horror, action, science fiction kind of low budget.
I love them, and those movies are on par with the classics to me. I don't differentiate.
Many people do.
Yeah, I'm an A picture and a B picture kind of guy, so I love both.
I see your collection.
Oh, it's an obsession. I don't know about a collection. You're so generous with your time, sir. I really, really appreciate this.
My pleasure. My
honor.
I like enthusiastic people like you that preserve this whole legacy of low budget. I know you also deal with high budget, with big budget.
Entertainment's entertainment,
But pay attention to the small ones as well, and so we don't lose it, because it is a piece of pie nowadays. We know that it's one piece of the pie of the Hollywood history of Hollywood.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have the big films without the small
movies of the 80s and the early 90s.
Sure, we would not have the big films without the small films.
Correct.
So, like, all your films bankrolled the Chuck Norris and the Charles Bronson and all those.
Not only this, listen. Eventually, the studios took over. At the middle of the 90s, they made True Lies. They took over. They made the same movies with bigger budget.
Yeah.
Predator. Oh. So basically, Predator are Cannon movies, big budget.
Yes.
So the studio decided, why would we let them capitalize on the video market? Now we are going into the video market as well, the majors. But being majors, they made them with much bigger budget, longer schedules, obviously.
Oh yeah, and they still do.
The means, the sources, and they took it in the middle of the 90s. They took it away out of the hands of the independent, and they took Schwarzenegger, they took Van Damme, and they Stallone, and they made those movies in a much bigger budget. The same movies.
Those early ones are a lot more fun now. Yeah, I think.
Because we did not use optical effects.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I hate
everything.
CGI.
I tell people, everything you see on the screen, everything you see was physically performed. There was nothing, there was no such a thing that somebody is tied to cables and the background is moving electronically behind him. We didn't have it.
Green screen.
Everything was physically performed on the street, on the stage, on the whatever. And you can feel it. Even if you don't consciously know everything, you can feel it as a viewer that, wow, really, this is happening.
It's tangible and it's honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the way I feel with CGI creatures. I can't get into them. If I see a physical effect, I appreciate that much more.
There is something to it.
Yeah. Well, thank
you. As well as Charlie Chaplin, he did not use blue screen,
No, Buster Keaton, any of those guys.
Yeah, they did it. They physically did it. Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, they physically did it.
Absolutely. And that's why we love them.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much.
Nathan. And all your viewers, thank you very much and enjoy it. And I will be in contact with you.
Will do. All right. Take care, sir.